Welcome to Built on Grit, the podcast where we uncover how real companies are scaling not just revenue, but valuation through systems, strategy, and sweat. I'm Joe Carter, and this episode dives into the B&B Roustabout journey, how they went from founder fatigue to jumping from 3.4x EBITDA to 7.2x EBITDA in just 90 days without giving up grit. Our theme today is elbow grease over excuses. But we're also pulling back the curtain on what made the strategic growth blueprint so effective for B&B. Today I've got both of the men behind B&B Roustabout with me, Justin Birchell, CEO and co-owner, and AJ Burk, COO and co-owner. These two built something powerful, and you're about to hear how. Justin, AJ, welcome fellas.
Always good to be here, Joe. This is the one I've been waiting to share, the real talk behind the numbers and the shift we made as a company.
Glad to be on, Joe. A lot of people see the trucks, the jobs, the results, but not the why or the how. This is a chance to open the hood.
All right, let's kick it off. 90 days. That's not a lot of time. But what you guys accomplished, especially from a buyer's perspective, was transformative. Justin, walk me through what day one looked like before we even touched the blueprint.
We were stuck. Not because the business wasn't doing well, but because we were in the middle of everything. If AJ or I weren't involved, things stalled. It wasn't scalable. We were exhausted, and we didn't even know what was dragging us down because we hadn't taken time to step back.
And from an outside lens, that lack of transferability crushed your multiple. You weren't just operating, you were blocking valuation growth.
That's right. Buyers didn't see a system. They saw two owners holding it all together. So we had to move fast to get out of our own way. First step, we documented everything we were touching daily. Quotes, dispatch, safety, timekeeping, billing, and asked one question: can someone else own this?
That one question became your unlock. Over 3 weeks, we built and deployed founder offload SOPs across your most critical workflows. Not long manuals, just crisp, clear steps. Who's doing it, when it's due, what success looks like.
And that clarity was immediate. Our team stepped up. They didn't need us hovering. They needed structure. We built it, and in less than 30 days, AJ and I were out of 80% of daily ops.
Which meant I could actually lead instead of plug holes. I started focusing on our crews, training, and safety programs. That's when we started seeing buy-in from the team and confidence from partners.
And that's when the multiple jumped. That founder independence, it's what gave buyers confidence that B&B could run without you, because now it was built on systems, not stress. All right, before we get tactical, let's rewind to the very beginning of the blueprint process. We always start with 5 core levers, the drivers that move the needle when it comes to valuation. But back then, they weren't obvious. You guys were in the thick of it.
Yeah, and when we saw the blueprint laid out, strategic clarity, founder independence, system architecture, financial signal clarity, and brand transferability, we realized we were out of alignment on all 5.
We were running fast, but without a compass. The jobs were getting done, but if you asked what's the plan, you'd get a blank stare.
And that's common. Founders grind, they don't stop to step back. But once we mapped those 5 levers to your current state, it was obvious where the gaps were and what we had to fix first.
And each one was a fight. Not because the work was complicated, but because it meant changing how we thought about the business. We weren't just improving operations. We were rebuilding the company to work without us.
The crazy part? Once we hit even 50% implementation on each lever, the multiple started shifting. The ops didn't need to be perfect. They just needed to be repeatable and provable.
That's what buyers look for. So let's break them down one by one. We'll start with strategic clarity, because none of the other levers matter if you're chasing the wrong goal. You guys were already doing solid revenue, but when we first looked under the hood, it was clear the company's growth was being capped. What were the early warning signs?
The biggest one? Everything ran through AJ and me. We were in every meeting, reviewing every invoice, putting out fires left and right. It felt productive, but we were the ceiling. There was no scale without stress.
We'd built the company on grit, but not yet on systems. So when we asked ourselves, can this company run without us? The honest answer was no.
That's exactly what flagged the 3.4x multiple. Buyers saw a strong business, but also risk. No documented systems, no proven independence. So we flipped the lens. What could we shift in 90 days to change the game?
First thing we attacked was decision-making bottlenecks. We created a weekly leadership cadence and started documenting everything. Field workflows, job quoting, daily reporting, billing. Instead of making decisions, we built decision frameworks others could follow.
We rolled out 7 core SOPs, started running structured ops meetings, and delegated ownership of tasks that had lived in our heads for years. Our guys stepped up fast. They just needed a playbook.
And you could see it. Projects moved faster, communication got tighter, and suddenly the business was operating instead of just reacting. That's when the multiple moved.
Yeah, within 30 days, we weren't just offloading, we were elevating. We went from, I have to do it, to, who owns it now? That mindset shifted our entire culture.
And it set the stage for what came next. Real financial clarity, smarter resourcing, and a leadership team that wasn't just waiting for direction, they were executing the plan.
So once we freed you guys up from the day-to-day chaos, we turned to something that most operators avoid until it's too late: financial clarity. And I'll be honest, when we first looked at the books, it wasn't broken, it was blurry. What was your financial process like before the blueprint?
We reviewed our P&L once a quarter, maybe. It was surface-level stuff. If the bank account looked good, we figured we were on track.
Yeah, we weren't budgeting. We didn't have accrual accounting. We weren't job costing. We didn't track revenue per employee or cash flow projections. We were profitable, but we had no insight into why or where it was coming from.
And that's what kills deals. Buyers don't just want a profitable business, they want a predictable one. So the first thing we did was install a real dashboard, right?
Game changer. We rolled out monthly financial reviews, started tracking revenue by crew, job level margins, labor utilization, and real-time cash flow forecasting. For the first time, we could see problems before they hit us in the face.
We built a 13-week cash forecast and added dashboards that showed actual versus projected margins. We even added RPE, revenue per employee, as a lead indicator. That alone shifted how we staffed and scheduled.
And you weren't just watching numbers, you were using them to lead.
Exactly. We started making sharper calls: when to hire, when to expand, when to hold. Before, it was all gut. Now it's data-backed confidence.
That's what unlocked the 7.2x valuation. Our EBITDA hit $1.98 million by 2024, and with our forecasting model, we're on track to hit $4.06 million net income by 2027. But what made buyers take us seriously was that we could prove it.
Let's be clear here. No fancy financial engineering, no outside capital, just clarity, structure, and repeatability. That dashboard didn't just help you see the future, it made the business viable.
We always had the potential. The blueprint helped us translate it into a real valuation. That's the shift, from possibility to proof.
So we've cleared the bottlenecks, turned the lights on financially. Now let's talk about the foundation, system architecture. Because without it, growth just means more chaos. What did systems look like before this process?
Honestly, it was all in our heads or in someone's texts. Everyone knew what to do, but no one could explain how we did it. We had no way to train new hires, no standardization across crews, and everything had a different flavor depending on who was running the job.
It worked until it didn't. And as soon as we stepped back from the day-to-day, the gaps showed up. Things slowed down, or worse, slipped through the cracks.
And that's where most businesses stall, because they confuse tribal knowledge with systemized execution. What was the first step to fixing it?
We listed every process that touched a customer, a job site, or cash flow. We started with just 7 core workflows. And the goal wasn't perfection, it was clarity.
We kept it simple. Who owns it, what triggers it, what tools are used, and how it's measured. We created quick reference SOPs, dispatching, equipment checkout, field logs, timekeeping, safety meetings, job closeouts, and invoicing. Within 30 days, they were live, and the results were immediate.
What changed in the field?
Everything. Crews started working with the system, not around it. We cut job delays, improved safety compliance, and our leads became actual leaders. They weren't just following instinct. They had a framework.
It also changed how we led. I wasn't needed for quotes anymore. A J wasn't chasing time cards. The business became teachable, repeatable, and scale-ready. That's the difference between a crew-dependent company and a system-driven enterprise.
That's what buyers want to see. It's not just about what you do, it's about whether someone else can do it without you. You guys proved that in 90 days. You didn't slow down. You speed up because the system's caught up to the growth. Let's talk about something most founders don't think about until it's too late: brand transferability. Buyers want a business, not a personality. And when we first started, the B&B brand was you two. Fair?
100%. Clients called me directly for quotes. They expected AJ to be on site. If we didn't show up, they felt like they weren't getting the real thing.
We built the company with our names and hands all over it, which worked for loyalty, but not for scalability. We realized if the brand dies when we step out, the business has no transferable value.
And that right there is why most businesses plateau at sale. So we made a plan, 90 days to pull the brand off the founders and make it stand on its own. What were the first moves?
We redefined our messaging, shifted the narrative from Justin and AJ to B&B delivers. We created a company capability deck, standardized our proposals, added testimonials from the team, not just from the owners.
We also pushed leadership visibility down. Our foremen started showing up in client walkthroughs, safety briefings, even proposal follow-ups. We trained them to represent the brand, not just work for it.
That's a critical distinction. When your team carries the brand, buyers see consistency, and that drives the multiple.
One of our buyers told us straight up, "I don't care how good you are. I care if the business runs without you." And now, it does. Our foremen lead with confidence. Our brand voice is clear across proposals and onboarding, and we're winning work without making every sale ourselves.
It's weirdly liberating. We're no longer the product, we're the platform.
And that's how you built something bigger than yourselves. In 90 days, you went from founder-centric to founder-optional, and that's what turned B&B from a solid business into a sellable brand. Let's close with something that's less tangible, but maybe the most powerful of all: culture and leadership leverage. In just 90 days, you guys didn't just upgrade systems, you changed how your team thinks. What sparked that shift?
It started when we stopped shielding the team from the numbers. We started running weekly leadership huddles with transparency, margin reviews, safety scores, job P and Ls. Suddenly, they weren't just employees, they were owners of the outcome.
We also started rewarding thinking, not just doing. When a crew lead called out inefficiencies or suggested an SOP tweak, we implemented it. That built confidence fast. Our guys saw they weren't just punching in, they were building the business with us.
And let's be honest, this didn't require a cultural overhaul or 12-month initiative. This was clarity, ownership, and communication, delivered fast and consistently.
Exactly. We told the team where we were headed and why it mattered. We made it clear. This business isn't for sale today, but we're building it like it could be. That got buy-in because they saw a future for the company and for themselves.
We also got serious about accountability. We built scorecards for our leadership team, not just KPIs, but behavioral benchmarks, showing up on time, communicating clearly, solving problems. It raised the bar without adding pressure.
And it worked. Culture shifted from compliance to commitment. You didn't just build systems, you built belief. And that's what buyers pick up on. They don't want a company that works on paper. They want a team that wants to win.
And now we have that. Not just because of better tools, but because of clear expectations, consistent feedback, and a shared target. That's what made this more than an ops fix. It made it a leadership transformation.
All right, let's land this thing. In just 90 days, B&B Roustabout jumped from a 3.4x to a 7.2x EBITDA multiple. That's not magic, it's momentum, driven by execution. Let's recap what actually got done.
We removed ourselves from daily bottlenecks, built SOPs that the team could run without us, and created a business that could operate and grow without constant founder oversight.
We gained full financial visibility with dashboards, forecasts, and job-level margin tracking that gave us decision-making confidence and made our numbers defensible to outside buyers.
You documented your system architecture, created clarity in every workflow that touches a client or cash, and trained your team to lead instead of wait.
We transitioned the brand from being about us to being about our process and team, and clients responded. We started getting deals we didn't personally close.
And most importantly, we built a culture of ownership. Our team stepped up. They didn't need more micromanaging. They needed structure, transparency, and purpose.
For listeners out there, this isn't theory, this isn't fluff, it's field-tested execution from a real oil field service company with boots in the mud and numbers that move. If you're listening and you're stuck in founder fatigue, if your valuation feels capped, or if you're running a good business that isn't yet buyable, know this: you don't need a miracle, you need a blueprint. Justin, AJ, huge respect for what you've built and what you're still building. You're proof that grit and growth don't have to be opposites. When they work together, you build something unstoppable.
Appreciate it, Joe? We didn't do it alone, but we did it fast, and we're not slowing down now.
It's just the beginning. Thanks for walking the walk with us.
That's it for this episode of Built on Grit. Until next time, remember, scale isn't about adding chaos. It's about multiplying clarity.
We were scaling income, but not equity. Everything ran through me and AJ. We were reviewing every invoice, fixing fires, and making every decision. We didn't own a business. We owned a bottleneck.
And it showed up in the valuation. You were stuck at what, 3.4 times EBITDA?
Exactly. Even with big contracts, buyers didn't see structure. That changed when we plugged into the strategic growth blueprint.
That's when we documented your 7 core SOPs, shifted leadership cadence, and built a dashboard that made your numbers talk. What happened after that?
Valuation jumped to 7.2 times in 90 days. We closed a $1.5 million deal mid-process, and by year 2, enterprise value hit $24 million. It wasn't magic, it was method.
Let's unpack the 5 value levers that drove your shift. Strategic clarity, every decision mapped to your future exit scenario. Founder independence, SOPs, and delegation replaced daily check-ins. System architecture, from tribal knowledge to documented workflows. Financial signal clarity, dashboards, job costing, break-even, and KPI tracking. Brand transferability, your brand no longer lived in your inbox.
Each of those was a battle, but together, they flipped our ops from reactive to repeatable. That's when our value scaled, because the business finally ran without me.
Justin, let's talk about that first lever, strategic clarity, because I remember back then your goal was to grow, but your definition of growth hadn't been connected to enterprise value yet.
Yeah, that was a wake-up call. We thought revenue was the scoreboard, but we didn't realize we were scaling friction, not value. You helped us define what an ideal exit could look like. $25 million, plus 3-state footprint, 35% margins, and from there, we worked backward.
That's right. The blueprint forced a question. Are we making decisions that a future buyer would respect or reject?
And the answer was mostly reject. We had 78% of our revenue from one-off jobs, 0 recurring contracts, and everything bottlenecked at the founder level. So we flipped it. We built predictable revenue, layered in team leadership, and aligned ops to that vision.
You started running the business like it was already worth $50 million, even before it was.
Exactly. And when the vision changed, so did the standard. That clarity gave every decision a filter. We stopped saying yes to everything and started building a buyer-ready company.
Now let's talk founder independence.
Founder independence was a wake-up call. For years, AJ and I were the safety nets. If something broke, we fixed it. If a client had a question, it came to us. That made us feel important, but it also made us irreplaceable, and not in a good way. The moment that hit me was when I got sick for a few days and everything stalled. That's not a business. That's a job with a fancy title. So we got honest about where the handoffs needed to happen. We started documenting processes, not just how to do things, but why we do them. We built training paths, delegated financial review, empowered crew leads to make field decisions, and stopped being the center of every operation. The turning point? When I went off grid for 4 days and came back to see invoices sent, problems solved, and 3 new leads in the pipeline. That was the first time I felt like an owner, not just a fireman. Founder independence isn't about stepping back. It's about setting others up to step up.
Let's talk system architecture, because this is where most businesses either stall or scale. Before we work together, how would you describe the systems at B&B?
Honestly, organized chaos. We had good people doing the right things, but everything lived in their heads, or worse, in someone's inbox. If a key team member was out, the process broke. No documentation, no repeatability.
Right, and that's where value dies, because buyers aren't buying you, they're buying a system that works without you.
Exactly. What changed everything was mapping out our workflows, start to finish, for jobs, billing, equipment tracking, and even safety meetings. We didn't just document tasks, we built decision trees. If X happens, here's how you respond.
And once that playbook was built, it wasn't just about consistency, it was about confidence. Your crews started solving problems without asking permission.
That was the game changer. We started running weekly SOP huddles, got buy-in from the field, and started treating feedback like gold. Our best systems came from the hands in the dirt, not the office.
And because of that, the business became scalable. Repeatable workflows, fewer bottlenecks, and a structure that could expand without adding chaos.
That's the part I didn't expect. Once the systems were in place, we grew faster with less stress. I could finally think long-term instead of firefighting every day.
Let's shift gears to financial signal clarity. When we first pulled up your numbers, what did you see?
Laughs. A mess. I mean, we were profitable, but we couldn't explain why or how. No job-level margin tracking, no revenue per crew, no break-even analysis, just bank balance logic. If there's cash, we're good.
And that's common. A lot of founders think they're operating on instincts, but they're really operating on guesswork.
Exactly. And that guesswork cost us. We were overstaffing in some areas, underbilling in others, and carrying equipment that wasn't earning its keep. Once we started tracking KPIs, per job, per employee, per asset, we saw patterns that changed how we priced, scheduled, and staffed.
That's when we built the monthly dashboard. Revenue, gross margin, job costing, EBITDA, cash runway, and that one metric you called the gut check number.
Revenue per field employee, game changer. We knew what great looked like, and we had a benchmark. That let us push performance without burning people out.
It's not about the spreadsheet, it's about decision clarity. And once you had that, how did it impact leadership?
Huge. Our team meetings got tighter. Everyone saw the same numbers. And our crew leads started solving problems proactively because they understood the financial levers behind their jobs. That created ownership, not just output.
And that, right there, is the difference between growth and value. You can't scale chaos, but you can scale clarity. All right, last of the 5 levers, brand transferability. This one hits different because most founders are their brand. What did that look like at B&B?
It was me and AJ, plain and simple. Clients called us directly. We were the brand's personality, sales team, project manager, and relationship holder. If someone asked who B&B was, the answer was us.
Which feels good until it doesn't.
Exactly. Because it means the business isn't sellable. It's just a personality with a logo. That's when we realized we had to pull ourselves out of the brand story and let the company stand on its own.
So what changed?
We rebranded from the inside out. Clear value props, updated messaging, highlighted our team, not just the founders. We systemized client onboarding, built a branded proposal template, and created a repeatable sales process that didn't need me on every call.
And you pushed visibility down the org chart. Your foremen started showing up as leaders, not just names on a timesheet.
That was the biggest mindset shift. The brand wasn't the founders, it was the experience. And when that experience became consistent, we got 2 things: client trust and buyer interest.
Because now the question isn't, can Justin deliver? It's, can B&B deliver? every time, with or without him.
And today, the answer is yes. That's what makes us valuable and viable in the eyes of any investor.
And we saw it in the numbers. Revenue up 4 times, margin from 9% to 24%, SOP adoption at 80%, leadership cadence weekly. It wasn't just efficient, it was buyable. Talk to me about the financial modeling piece, because in the strategic growth blueprint, that's where we uncovered the real blind spots.
Right, we weren't budgeting, we had no job costing. Revenue per employee, didn't track it. It was check the bank balance and hope it's good. Honestly, we didn't even know how much margin we were leaking per job. We just kept going.
That was the first red flag. You were doing real revenue, but no one could point to where the profit was or wasn't.
Exactly. Once we shifted to accrual-based reporting, implemented a formal budgeting process, and started reviewing financials monthly, not quarterly, things got real. We added a 13-week cash forecast, job-level margin tracking, revenue per crew dashboards, and suddenly, we weren't reacting to money. We were steering it.
Let's talk outcomes. What changed?
A lot. Margin consistency jumped 18%. EBITDA hit $1.98 million in 2024. Net income is tracking to hit $4.06 million by 2027. Our sustainability ratio, cash on hand to expenses, nearly doubled. And our Z-score, over 6.0. That's a financially strong business by any metric.
That clarity created leverage. You started using data to lead, not gut.
And it freed us to make smarter moves, invest in tech, open up new service lines, expand into new regions. But even more than that, it built confidence in our leadership. We weren't guessing anymore. Every decision had data behind it.
And for potential buyers, that's huge. They don't invest in potential, they invest in predictability.
That was the unlock. Our dashboard became our second language. We could tell the story of the business in metrics. And buyers? They trust numbers more than stories.
Let's look forward. You've got a 10-year mission now. Talk about the vision for 2035.
Our goal, be the #1 roustabout and site services provider in the Western U.S. $50 million revenue, 35% margins, 3-state footprint, and a safety program that cuts incidents by 50%.
That's a Centaur company. Dual excellence in people and systems. And you're already building it. Cash reserves up, equity up, debt down, and forecasted enterprise value at $59.5 million by 2035.
And all that is happening because we lead with systemization now, not firefighting. We're training team leads, running playbooks, and shifting from heroic hustle to transferable value.
So let's bring it home. What's your advice to a founder listening who's still in the weeds?
You're not lazy, you're overloaded. And the only way to get your life back is through systems. Start with what you repeat the most. Document it, delegate it, and build weekly rhythm that doesn't rely on adrenaline.
Amen. Hustle builds income. Systems build equity. You can't exit chaos.
And you don't need a huge team. You need a smarter one. Our ops are now 80% team run. We've got clarity in dashboards, no bottlenecks in inboxes, and a team that owns the day-to-day.
That's it. You heard it here. B&B didn't just grow, they grew with intentionality. This is built on grit, and this episode wasn't just a story, it's a roadmap. Go build your next milestone. If this episode sparked something, share it. Hit me up via any social media channel, or check out www.twinflametexas.com for the strategic growth blueprint. Because grit's not enough without systems, and scale isn't real without structure. Let's get to work.